The Houston Texans have the lowest win total in the NFL this season, set at 4.5 at Caesars Sportsbook. But last season, we saw the Cincinnati Bengals at 75-1 win the AFC. They nearly won the Super Bowl at 150-1. The Texans 150-1 to win the AFC. One of our lead NFL analysts thinks the Texans can make some noise this season with second-year quarterback Davis Mills. Taking a look at some of the long shots like the Texans to win the Super Bowl, they are they're 300-1. Falcons 250-1. You got the Panthers and Baker Mayfield, the Giants, and even the Steelers, one of the most winningest franchises in the NFL. Not a lot expected of them this season with Mitch Trubisky, the starting quarterback. All right, let's talk about some overlooked teams who could surprise this season with Charles Davis, who's showing me up here with a nice purple tie in studio. The one time I don't wear a tie, and Charles walks in just dapper from head to toe.
If I'd been a good teammate, I'd take the tie off. But I am an only child, and it comes out in certain ways like this. And unfortunately, here it is.
Well, hey, tell us why you think that this Texans team, which, let's be honest, nobody's really expecting much of anything from, why they could be a surprise team this season.
Yeah, and I like how you framed it up because, remember, 17 of the last 19 seasons, at least one team has gone from worst to first in the division. So we know that it happens in the NFL. With each of these teams we're going to talk about, not every one of them, am I saying, is going to have really go from worst to first, but this Texans team looks like a much better franchise. Had a chance to spend time at their training camp recently. I like what they're doing there. Nick Caserio as the general manager, the addition of Lovie Smith as the head coach, and I was a David Culley fan. I thought they played awfully hard for him last year. But to bring in a Lovie Smith, I think the perfect temperament for a team that's on the build, a team that's moving forward. And look, Davis Mills is the quarterback. Chris, 13 starts in his career at Stanford. A lot of people thought he came out a year early, could have stayed in one more year. He made the decision to come out and ended up being their starting quarterback last year, 13 starts. So guess what? He got on-the-job training in the NFL. If he had stayed in school and played throughout last year, I've said this many, many times, he still would have been one of the quarterbacks. He would have been the top quarterback in this year's class, in my humble opinion. So I thought that was a good move to get him and get him going. And he has taken over that team. This team plays well on defense. Lovie ran the defense last year. Jonathan Grenard coming at them. They've added Jerry Hughes. To me, this is a team that is on the rise. Not necessarily saying that they're ahead of Tennessee, ahead of Indianapolis. But I think they're going to look like a good ball club now. And I thought their draft was as good a draft as we had last year. Stingley at number 3, Kenyon Green in the first round. Dameon Pierce, I think, will be their starting running back. John Mechie out with leukemia, but they'll get him back. Christian Harris at linebacker. I just thought, all in all, a tremendous draft, and my favorite player, Jalen Petrie, the safety.
And also,
he's like a Swiss Army knife.
Look into the future as well, getting all those picks for Deshaun Watson as well. Over under 4.5. Sportsline also likes the over at even money, plus 100. All right, if you've been watching Hard Knocks, you're probably falling in love with Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. He'll fight you whether or not you're physically deformed or not.
Whether you want to or not.
Yeah, and the Lions, look, they showed that feistiness last season. They won 3 of their last 6 games. Why do you think this could be a team that is going to have to be reckoned with in the NFC North this season?
Because I do think that this is a team that is grasping on to what Dan Campbell is bringing to the table. All right, when you start to look at this whole ball club and you go from the general manager seat all the way down, it's a brand new organization starting last year, and they're all in sync. Sure, Dan Campbell has the big personality, and we're loving watching him on Hard Knocks. We loved him from his first press conference when he was talking about biting kneecaps. But there's a lot more substance to what he's bringing to the table with that great coaching staff that's getting revealed now to the public nationally. Remember last year late, you mentioned they won 3 of the last 6. Jared Goff throwing a touchdown pass and running over and pretty much knocking over Dan Campbell with the big hug. That team never gave up on the season, in large part because Dan Campbell never gave up on them. I think they'll be better. Amon-Ra St. Brown, what a great rookie season he has, a wide receiver. DeAndre Swift, we're seeing what they're challenging him with on Hard Knocks to be one of the better running backs out there. I love the bookend tackles that they have with Penei Sewell at right tackle, Taylor Decker at left tackle, Frank Ragnow in the center. They've got to get better overall on defense. They're really around 28, 29, 30 overall on defense. But there's a good feel about this team. Anyone thinks that you just walk in and get a win, it doesn't happen. Baltimore went in there last year, needed a 66-yard field goal when the clock ran out on a play call that they didn't blow dead. Otherwise, that's another win for this team. So I like where they're going. I like the direction that they're taking. And it's not just that we like them on TV, but I'm firmly convinced that this team is grasping onto whatever culture, whatever buzzword we want to use, they'll be better.
Buzzword kneecaps.
Yeah, well,
or cheek.
Listen, as a former defensive back, I know how to drop my hips, right? Be a good knee bender, get my hands out in front, and keep them away from my kneecaps.
Even though they didn't have a good record last season, they had the third best cover percentage in the NFL. So we're talking about teams who we're not saying are going to be this year's version of the Bengals from last year and go to the Super Bowl, but teams that are at the bottom of the league right now that are on the way up. And the Carolina Panthers are a team that's been discussed a lot lately because there are a lot of people that believe, and I think you're included, if Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy, and if Baker Mayfield can just be Baker Mayfield, not from last season, but from the first 3 seasons in Cleveland, this team's got a chance.
Anyone remember the boulder Sisyphus pushed up the hill? Remember that
yes,
boulder?
Of course,
and they kept rolling back down on him? That's the size of boulder that Baker Mayfield keeps on his shoulder in terms of when people doubt him, okay? This young man's had a hit list since he's in the 6th grade. That's when he plays his best, when he is most doubted. Right now, coming from Cleveland, feeling like Cleveland discarded him. This is the best time for Baker Mayfield. It was interesting when Matt Rule named him the starter. The whole country went, yeah, no kidding. He was the starter from the time you made the move.
Right.
Why were we even having this discussion? But he's got weapons. Think about the receivers of DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson and Terrace Marshall. Tommy Tremble, the tight end, second year, he's got to come along. You mentioned McCaffrey. Edidike Ekwonu, he's going to hold down left tackle. Taylor Moton at right tackle. Move Brady Christensen inside to guard. They will be a better team. And by the way, this defense, second overall in total defense in the NFL last year. Brian Burns is ready for a huge breakout off the edge. Jeremy Chin can do everything in the secondary. I like this team in a lot of ways. Sure, we know what they got to deal with, though. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. But Cincinnati, you mentioned them. They were 7-26 the previous 2 seasons before going 10-7 last year and finding their way to the Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield is at his best when challenged the most. I believe in what he's going to bring to the table.
And gets to face his former team in the very first game
week
of the
one?
season as well.
Week 1? Who made the schedule? Who did that?
How about that start? How about one more team here that could surprise this season? You mentioned the Panthers and how good they were defensively last season. That's what we all thought Washington was going to be.
We all did, didn't we?
And it didn't happen.
I think that they'll get back to it and be a lot better this year. I mean, you're going to get Chase Young back at defensive end to go along with Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat. So you have these first-round picks in this defensive front that sets a tone for them. They will play better this year. There's an overlooked safety they have by the name of Cameron Curl out of Arkansas. He'll strike you if you come across the middle, plays well in the run game. I think overall, Jack Del Rio as the coordinator, they will be much better on defense. I know all the talk is about Carson Wentz, and I get it. But the running back position, Antonio Gibson's going to have to step up because Brian Robinson's looking good in the preseason. Oh, that's right. Terry McLaurin asked for a running mate. He got one in Jahan Dotson. So you got to give them credit. If they can get Logan Thomas back at full speed somewhere around midseason off of a knee injury, they'll be dangerous on offense. My biggest worry with them is their offensive line. But it's an NFC East where people don't seem to run away from you. And they won this division with a losing record 2 seasons ago. Could Ron Rivera's crew be that team that goes from worst to first and be able to get back up there? I like what they did 2 years ago, and this is a better team in my opinion.
Bookending it with that note you mentioned at the top, what is it, 17 of the last 19 years?
Somebody's gone, at least one team in the league's gone from worst to first. And last year, if you said you had the Bengals, why didn't you call me and Chris and tell us? We could have used that information.
75-1 to win the AFC, and they won it last year. So Charles giving us a handful of teams that could surprise us this season. The season begins September the 11th on CBS Week 1. Charles going to be on the call for Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. And a couple of teams Charles talked about also going to be on CBS. Panthers, Browns, that game at 1 Eastern. So is Texans, Colts.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.